Oh, hey, you caught me in the middle of writing my totally original Isekai story. See, I've got this long list of shit to ensure that it's completely unique. Now then, my story's going to be about a boy who dies and goes to another world to meet an elf. Okay. He's going to save the world by making pizza. Yeah, sure. That'll work. Nobody's stupid enough to have written a story about that. Huh? That was weird. Go! Hello and welcome to Isekai'd. Given my overwhelming vibes of generic protagonist, I figured it'd be good to prepare myself for the inevitability of when I die being sent to another world. So I've created this series about the power trips, the fantasies, and the woefully generic worlds of another worlds. And yes, I actually bought a physical copy of this book. It's real. Today we'll be talking about the hero and his elf bride open a pizza parlor in another world, or as I'll be referring to it for the rest of my life, Pizzakai. Not only did someone decide to write this book, someone else decided I should subject English speakers to this. So what's this story about? Well, as is typical for light novel titles, the whole plot is on the front of the book. Kaito is run over by a pizza delivery bike, dies, and ends up meeting a goddess in a castle in the sky. She informs him that he's been chosen to be reincarnated into another world, and provides him with three options: a noble sword wielder, a powerful wizard, or a pizza chef. Because Kaito does the logical thing and spends more than 10 seconds on deciding what his second life is going to be, the first two options get taken, and he's stuck as the high-calorie hero. Thrown into a land of elves, Kaito must now help fatten up the emaciated folks of his new home through the power of pizza. Let's cover some basic complaints right off the bat. Several times the book talks about how these elves are all too herbivorous and vegetarian, but right after these instances, they talk about eating meat at the banquet and eggs in the morning. And when Kaito arrives, he talks about how the elves are so thin, they look like they can't stand on their own. When I think about emaciated elves, I imagine something like Divinity's elves, where you can see their whole skeletons, not this. Because nothing says emaciated like D-cup tits. This book is awful. All the reviews I were finding were saying that it's a bad isekai, but it's more than that. It's just a bad book. Like, the only saving grace is that the chapters are only 5 to 10 pages long, even though they all take place one after another anyways. The dialogue is painful, the characters are all paper thin, and the book forgets what it says every 2 pages. And that's when you can actually tell who's supposed to be talking and what the hell is going on. People just appear with no indication that they were supposed to be in the room or that they were ever there to begin with. I cannot stress how immensely frustrated this book made me. I took more notes on this book than I have for any reading in my entire college career. Do you know how hard it is to make pizza boring? I thought it would be pretty hard, but this book, it made it happen. It even acknowledges it. It says that the pizza facts are boring, and that being a pizza hero is lame. So why would you write about it? Look, if you know that what you're writing is boring, it's not funny to go, haha, isn't this boring? Okay, let's focus on one thing at a time. Now the story. What happens after our sweet pizza boy goes to his isekai? To spoil the plot of the book, a whole lot of nothing. He's introduced to the head of the elf village and his gracious host for most of the book, and is led to his new pizza kitchen. Shortly after, he meets Lilia, the titular elf bride, and waste of any piece of paper her name is printed on. And no, that is not an exaggeration. She does nothing, she stands for nothing, and she is more often a hindrance to the story's progression, if you can even call it that. But we'll get to her. The new hero gets to work baking pizza using magical ingredient cards, meets some other pointless side characters, eventually cooks an apple pie, and finally feeds a dragon to save the village. Everything that happens in terms of story is intensely pointless. Any setback or inconvenience is instantly resolved, and nothing matters for longer than the chapter it's in, which, remember, is only 5 pages. One part has Kaito and Lilia stop to see a mandrake on the side of the road. And then they just acknowledge it's there, say they can't use it on a pizza, and then walk on and never bring it up again. It's a literal waste of the reader's time and trees to print those words on. And this isn't the only instance of this faux world building that this book tries to do. It tries its absolute hardest, and by that I mean the bare minimum, to pretend that it's a fantasy world. They'll rename a few vegetables and then just call everything else exactly what it is on Earth. They'll do shit like have krakens and dragons, but then cotton candy and paper napkins. You know, 2 things not invented until the late 1800s. Hardly medieval if you ask me. But the story doesn't hold a candle to how intensely irrelevant every single character is. Now, I'd start with Kaito, but he doesn't even have enough of a personality to be considered generic. His entire being boils down to pizza and commenting on the other characters. And by commenting, I mean judging and trying to point out the quote-unquote jokes in this book. Then there's Lilia, who only exists to go, haha, she eats a lot and gets jealous. Women, am I right? Now, I talk about the plethora of characters that litter the chapters, but all of them are stupidly one note and only show up a max of 3 to 4 times, if they're lucky enough. Hans is fat, likes honey, and is clumsy. The head elf is an adulterer. The elf queen is a vegan soon who refuses to admit she likes pizza. Side note, if you're a hot elf queen who is willing to look at me like this, please contact me on my twitter.com. Oh, and the last minute she comes and mumbles she may try to marry Kaito with 0 previous indication as to her even considering it, and right after he'd proposed to Lilia. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, Lilia and Kaito aren't even married. The title of the book is also a lie. But this book is good for one thing. All you gotta do is add some cheese, pop it in the oven. Now we wait. Here we are. Now we just take a bite. Oh, what the fuck? There's pineapple on this. Never mind, the book's useless. You know what? Screw it. I'll just write an isekai about myself. You know, there's no way anybody's written a story about a guy who's kind of a dick, but, you know, reluctantly helps his friends, and ultimately is just pretty smart, but mainly lucky, and otherwise pretty below average. And fuck!